I want to introduce to you somebody that I met that you're probably closest to my mom more than anybody.
Oh.
You sound like her, you remind me of her, and you guide me, which is really incredible. And her art pieces were, for 13 years in a little place in Bisbee, Arizona, and now the pieces are home. I made a promise to you that they were coming home.
And you did.
And with the family of Brett Schwartz and Seacove and all this work, I introduced to you my dearest friend. This is Marika Coleman.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very surprised and pleasantly so that there are so many people, because I thought maybe 10 people, 5, 10, something like that. So briefly, I will tell you my story. I was born in Hungary, in the middle of Europe, in a beautiful capital city, Budapest. Budapest divided by the Danube, which is the biggest river in Europe, to Buda and Pest. And I lived on the Buda side, which was very lovely, full of hills and historic monuments. It was a beautiful place, but I was born in the wrong time. It was 1935. And Germany was getting ready to take over Europe and kill all the Jewish people. So I was 9 years old when I had to wear a yellow star. The star was always the same for grown-ups and children. So my little chest was practically covered with this big yellow star. And it followed a lot of abuse in school. The children would spit on me, call me dirty Jew, which didn't make any sense to me because I bathed every day and always had clean clothes. So I decided they must be crazy, but I was very angry. My mother said I should not ever talk back and fight with them because they could denounce us and send us to the Gestapo. Now, I was only 9, but I could tell that this was serious. It wasn't just, don't do this, don't do that. It was, you can't do this. So why I was being abused, called Christ killer, why do you eat the Hungarians' bread, this kind of things, and spit on and hit at times, I kept saying to myself, one day I will talk back. One day I'm gonna give this back to you, and I'm gonna fight you, and I will reap revenge. And that's how I wrote this book, about which I talk a little later. So when the legal notice came that all the Jews had to go in the ghetto, my mother and I had to move into a crowded, my iPhone is telling me there's a hot spot. So when we were in the ghetto, of course, all wearing the yellow star, another ordinance came, and that was that all women had to go in a work camp, and the children should go in an orphanage. My mother said, no way, we cannot be separated. we are together in this. But she didn't know what to do. So she took off her yellow star, which was a brave thing to do since they could shoot you right there and there, and went to see a friend of his who was in the Hungarian army, who was an officer. And she asked him, what can I do? I don't want to be separated from my child, and I don't know what's going on. And he told her, you have to go and hide with your daughter. If possible, get Aryan papers, Christian papers, and go somewhere where nobody knows you. So luckily she was able to come back while I was waiting anxiously. And we packed a little bag and went to Szentendre, which is a city about an hour away from Budapest. And then we climbed a mountain where there was a refuge, a mountain refuge. She heard that the man who owned the refuge was an anti-fascist and wanted to help mothers and children. So we lived there with another mother and child all during the rest of the war. In fact, we didn't know when the war ended until the Russian Soviet soldiers came and raped all the women. Then we went back to Budapest, but we weren't given back our apartment, and we were waiting for our relatives, and nobody came back. So my mother's whole family were killed in Auschwitz. My father's family, 2 brothers were killed. My father was already dead, and 1 sister survived. So it was very hard times, because besides the fact that there was nothing to eat and no heating, the fact of losing people this way was very, very tough. So I wrote this book, which is a fictionalized memoir. I tried to write it just as a memoir. But as I was writing, the old feelings came back of anger, of how could this happen, and why isn't retribution? Because there wasn't in Hungary. Anti-Semitism was still very high, and the communists didn't care a bit what happened to the Jews. So when I started to write it, when I got to the age of 14, I decided to take revenge. So this book is about revenge. The revolution title refers to the 1956 Hungarian Revolution, which was then, of course, taken down by the Soviets. But that was the time, and I was 21 years old, that I was able to leave the country, and the first time in my life I was a free person. So that's how the book ends. Now my art. When I lived in Bisbee, which is an artist community, I heard that there was a a ceramic studio that was very good. It belonged to the college. And I went to just have fun there. And for a while, I just made pretty girls and pretty boys and vases and flowers and all the things I like. Then one day, as I was playing with this big piece of clay, I made this very strange long figure that you will see up there. And people asked me, well, what is that? And I said, this is how I see my very favorite aunt at the end of her life when she's neither alive or dead. And that long, skinny figure became a sculpture. When people heard that, and there was a Holocaust memorial in Arizona, one of the people who were there was the director of the El Paso Holocaust Museum. And I gave a little speech and told them why I made that figure. It was just this one figure. She asked me to have an exhibit. And she asked me, well, how many pieces do you have? And I said, one. And she said, well, I need at least 25. Okay. So I went to work. And I ended up with 30-something. And most of them are here. There are some more that we will bring back. And of course, what I do, I also paint. So when I make something, that's my pleasure is to making it. And after that, I sort of forget them. It's like with my children. So you grow them up and then go do your thing, be happy. And it worked with my daughter and son, so I figured it will work with my art too. And it did. And it came back to me, thanks to this wonderful lady. And what else can I tell you? I'd like you to go see it and react to it. Tell me what you think, what kind of feelings it brought to you. I basically told the story from the beginning of wearing the yellow star to the crematoriums with these small sculptures. Now, I have a few books with me. If you want to purchase them, they cost $15. If you don't want the hard copy, Amazon has the ebook for $6.99. So, okay, so if you want to ask me questions, let's do it. Yes.
When you were in hiding for I don't know what the correct word is.
The hiding is good.
Were you aware of the awful things that were happening?
I knew we were in danger, but I wasn't scared because I was with my mother.
Okay.
And there was very little food at the end. I know that it was like one potato. But I was never hungry because my mother was hungry, I'm sure. Yeah. I did all kinds of things. I skated, there was a little pond. I sledded down into a tree and broke my nose. I mean, children, luckily children somehow can deal with life like that if their parent is there. Yes?
Were you ever in danger in hiding?
Yes. At some point, the Hungarian army came up. And Hungarians were quite anti-Semitic. So you never knew you could trust them or not, basically not. And one of the soldiers asked my mother, how come I am so dark? Because I had dark hair and very dark eyes and olive skin. And my mother said, well, her father was an Italian. so that was one tricky thing. And the other child who was with his mother was a boy. And we had to be very careful there because Hungarian kids were not circumcised, only the Jewish. So you had to really hide the kid, and that was tricky. Yes?
How did you get to the United States or like San Diego?
I can't hear.
How did you get to San Diego, the United States? How did you get here?
Oh, United States. Well, so I came here in 1962. That's why I have an accent, because I was 27 years old. So, by the way, Sunday I'm going to be 90. So my mother came earlier than me. I was in Italy studying music. I wanted to be an opera singer. So I was in Milano studying singing. My mother had a sister in New York City who came out before the war. She was a concert pianist. And my mother followed when we came out of Hungary, was able to join her sister in New York City while I was in Italy. When I finished my studies in Italy, I came here because I had no citizenship and my only family members were in New York. And I lived in New York, married, had 2 children, and that was it. That was United States. Yes. A gentleman in the back.
Has anti-Semitism ever been a problem for you here in the United States?
I don't.
Has there ever been a problem for you here?
No, not at all. I immediately got a green card, and but I didn't tell you that when I was in Europe, I got a Ford scholarship, and that gave me already 2 years into the United States. And also, I was a refugee, a Hungarian refugee, and at that time there was absolutely no problem getting a citizenship, because in '64, I think I became a citizen. Yes?
Have you gone back?
Hungary?
Yes.
Yes, I visited twice with my children. I wanted them to. Once it was terrible. When I went the first time, the children were still little, but I wanted to see my aunt and cousin. And when I went out to the airport to come back, they said, well, wait a minute, when I showed my passport, come in this room. And I thought, oh my God, they're going to arrest me. I will never go back, never see my children. Evidently, what you had to do when you arrived to Budapest, you had to sort of denounce yourself to the police. The police has to know you there. And I didn't do that because I didn't know I had to do it. So luckily they let me go, but it was very scary. Yes, Sam?
Your art is so moving and so descriptive of events that happened, but you were never in a camp.
No, thank God. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here.
Where did you get the inspiration?
Oh, God. You know, you see, the movies I can't even look at, but you just hear the stories and you see pictures and you imagine a lot. Yeah, it's in our blood, I think, all of us. Yes?
Why is clay and sculpting your preferred medium of art?
Well, you know, it was a chance that studio was there. I like to make art of any kind. I sing, I dance, I paint, and I sculpt. I did all those things. So it was just a chance that it was available, and it was very malleable and easy. Easier than, let's say, sculpting marble. Yeah.
And you write.
And I write. Yeah, well, I wrote this one book as a memoir.
And you're a psychologist.
Yes, I was a psychotherapist for 35 years. I have a PhD in psychology and then MA in anthropology. Yes.
Where are your children?
Some
Shouldn't have asked it, I'll take it back.
no, they're doing very well. My daughter lives in Oslo, Norway. That was the side. And has two grown-up sons. And one of the sons' wife is about to have a baby. So I'm going to have a great-grandchild soon. And my son lives in Maine with his wife and two children and comes to visit. And he's doing very well too. And they love me and I love them. Yes.
You mentioned the concept of denouncing several times tonight, and I believe that it's a theme of your book. And
Yes.
I can imagine that in writing your book, it was cathartic as you transitioned from a memoir to a fictionalized memoir. And I'm wondering if you could offer any contemporary parallels to that concept of denunciation to those in the world who feel like that is somewhat of a similar time now.
Yes, it's a terrible, terrible life when people denounce each other. It's the terror because you're always afraid and you never know who's gonna denounce you, lie about you, or maybe tell the truth that they shouldn't know. And it was that denouncing that I used as a revenge for what the Nazis did. So the revenge, the denouncing culture, if you want, of the Soviets, of the communists, became a weapon against the Nazis, and that's what's in the book. It sort of ran away with me.
I'm curious if you married a survivor. You said you met your husband in...
No, he is a first generation person, and I divorced him, how many years ago? Many years ago, 48 years ago. And now I have a spouse, Patricia, who's here.
The spouse.
Yes.
You two have been together 48 years?
48 years.
Openly same-sex couple to have won child custody in New York City. In the United States, actually. I say thanks. She risked a lot for this relationship.
Well, yes.
Has your book been translated into other languages?
Not yet.
Any volunteers?
Yeah.
How did your father die?
Oh, he died when I was 2 years old from cancer. Yeah. So my mother was a single mom.
And when you were living in the refuge with the other mother and the boy child and the person who hosted you, I mean, were you given lessons to try to?
Oh, no, no. We were happy if we had food.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and heat. Yeah, because the winters are colder. Yeah. Yes.
I was just wondering that when you were a little girl, was the society around you always hostile to Jewish people, or did it slowly get that way? What was the change like?
I think it was there, but as a child, I didn't notice it. I was a happy kid living in a happy family. But once the yellow star was on us, it was like we were targets. And kids heard their parents say things, and the propaganda against Jews became terrible. And people believed that we were horrible and not human, or I don't know what they believed, but they behaved like they thought we weren't really like them, like people. Yes?
How do you think your mom was just such a survivor herself?
Well, she was smart, courageous, and she loved me. And I was very close to her, and she wasn't gonna let us die. She saved me and herself that way. Yeah. Yes?
Do you have any advice or just message to share for the year 2025? Anything you want to give us all?
For a 25-year-old?
For no, just like this year, for just
For
the
this
current
year.
day and age.
Oh,
that
this
we're
day
in.
and age.
Any message that you want to share to us?
Boy, we are living hard times. So don't let it happen. You have to raise your voice and don't let things that you don't want to underwrite happen. Yeah. It's very painful for me.
Hello, I'm Sandra Scheller, the creator and curator of RUTH, Remember Us The Holocaust, an exhibit in the La Jolla Riford Library. Recently, we acquired these amazing art pieces from Marika Coleman, who's a Holocaust survivor. We will feature her pieces in our exhibit. Her way of talking about the Holocaust was through art, by creating ceramic pieces.
Okay, would you like me to write something? What's your name?
Ann, A-N-N.
A-N-N.
One thing I did want to point out was Maria's first original ceramic piece, which inspired her. So this is the inspiration piece of a family going into a camp. And as she added color to them, it turned into the feel of what her vision was of what Holocaust survivors looked like. The Holocaust exhibit is open during library hours with tours on Tuesdays from 12 until 2:30.
Have you been able to look at the exhibit? It's quite wonderful.
This one?
Have you been able?
Yes,
Oh, yes,
yes, oh yes.
That's how Sandra found her, is we came to see the exhibit. And I just whispered in Sandra's ear, she's a survivor, and Sandra,